Well, my friends, this has received 2 more coats of the oil varnish, and I'm pretty happy with it. I think I could call that finished. It's got a lot of roughness to it, little, I don't know, just little like flakes of dust and stuff that's in the finish and stuff. So I'm going to rub it out real good, buff it out real good by hand. It won't be glossy when I'm finished. But today may be the birthday of this thing. Today is May 24th, 2022, and we're playing tonight at a restaurant, local restaurant, and this may be my weapon of choice tonight. I know it hasn't had enough time to cure. I am fully aware of that, but it's completely dry to the touch. It's not sticky whatsoever, so I'm just going to go ahead and set it up because I'm like a kid at Christmas time. I can't wait anymore. We'll see how it goes. So one of the things I'm going to have to do first is clean up the finish, and so I've got some like quadruple aught steel wool here to smooth it out and get rid of the bumps and things that are on the finish. This is going to dull it down really a lot, and I guess that's okay because you got to do it in steps. And I'm just checking to see that I covered every spot. It's looking pretty good. It's going to be a lot of handwork. I removed the tape off of here, and this is still bare right now. I'm not going to dye that until the very end. So I've got a lot of this to do. Probably not going to film much more of this, but you can see my process, and I really have to cover the whole instrument this way. Hopefully you'll see the next step in the evolution. Well, I've steel wooled the whole instrument. You can see the shine is gone. I'm going to now hand rub it, and I'm going to use the Hapich Semichrome polish to do that. At least that's the way I'm going to start. I think that's the way I'll do the whole thing, but we'll see how that goes. Just put a little dab of that polish on here, and then I'm just going to hand rub it like this and see if I can make a difference. I like to use these blue towels. They work really good for me. They just buff things out really, really well. Got a little bit of a problem with a little bit of a run right in this area here, and the steel wool didn't take it out, so I think I'm going to try to sand that out a little bit with some sandpaper. So back up in punt here. I've been working on off camera here, sanding and polishing and different things, and I've decided that I am still going to go ahead and set it up to play today, but I am going to probably break it back down in another week or two, and then sand it, give it a good sanding, and apply another couple of coats of finish, because I'm not real happy with a lot of the areas on it. It's pretty good, but it could be better, and I think if I give it time to settle and then sand it down and put some more finish on it after a couple of weeks, I think it'll be real good. Meanwhile, I'll just play it. It'll be fun. It's not bad, it's just that like I said, it just could be better. I'll keep working on it, and I'll show you as I make some progress. Well, off camera, I've got it hand rubbed out. It's not nearly as glossy. It looks pretty good. As I may have mentioned earlier, I think I am going to probably play it for a month like this, and then I'm going to probably take it apart and sand it down lightly and give it another coat or two of the oil varnish. It's pretty good. It's just not good enough. But I want to go ahead and play it for a while, and that'll let these other coats go ahead and cure before I put more on it, which I think will be a good thing. Although Some people would argue that they don't bond as well that way. I understand that too, but I think it won't hurt anything to let this set and get, dry up and get into the pores and things, and then put some more on it, sand it and put some more on it. That's what I'm going to do anyway, regardless. I've leveled and recrowned the frets and cleaned up the fretboard a little bit. Now it's time to oil the fingerboard, fretboard. So we'll just take a little bit of the Be Good oil, put it on my finger here, and just spread it around. Doesn't take very much of this. May have to use a brush to spread it around up in these little tight frets because I can't get my finger down in there.
On my last day on earth, when my last words will be heard, I want you there to hear the story I will tell.
Guess I'm going to start trying to fit the hardware up here and get a nut made and those kinds of things. I'll let you see some progress along the way. Yeah, fitting these ferrules in is going to be difficult. It always is. They're always real tight. At least I say that, and I think so. That's typically because I'm spraying the lacquer on there and the lacquer gets down in there. This oil varnish didn't spread like that, so it's not quite as bad, I don't think. Be that as it may, I'm going to take and trim away some of the top of the hole here. I always do that with a real sharp X-Acto knife. Effectively what I'm doing is kind of beveling the hole out a little bit so that there's no tear out right at the edge of the hole whenever I start putting this down in there. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and do all the holes and then I'll show you what that looks like as I move on. I've got all the holes cleaned out. I put a little bit of this Renaissance wax around the ferrule to try to help it go in there. And I just use a screwdriver like this to press it in there. Yeah, I think I got problems. Yeah, my counterboard holes are not deep enough. Doggone it, it's not going to go down deep enough. So I've got to re-drill my counterbores. What a shame. You know, that the counterbore has a little lead shaft on it, the counterbore bit, and that was bottoming out and I thought I would be deep enough, but apparently not. Okay, that one went in much easier now. I re-drilled the holes. I didn't film that part. Yeah, now they press in there real nice and easy. Again, I'm just putting a little bit of this Renaissance wax on them because I figure that'll help get them in the hole and get them out of the hole if I ever need to take them out, because they're pressed in pretty good. This is my favorite method for pressing them in. You don't have to worry about hitting them or, marring your finish or anything, because this, stays in the hole, and you just use the plastic part of this to push them down in there, and it works about as good as anything I've ever come across. Looks really nice. There's what the first four look like. So I'll go ahead and put the rest in there and we'll move on to the next step. With all the ferrules pressed into place, we really are about 3 steps away from trying to string this thing up. We got to put the tailpiece on, which I've already pre-mounted once. So that should be fairly straightforward. I have the James tailpiece with the Rosa engraved on there. These are, a machine tailpiece. These are not the stamped cheap metal ones. They come with O-rings to lock them in place, but I'll put the O-rings on after I get it installed. So we got 3 rather large screws to put in. Only marked the holes. I did not drill them for these 3 screws yet, so I do have that to do yet. I need to drill them. So I got to slow down a little bit here, as usual, and find me a good drill for this. Got my handy dandy Festool drill that one of my wonderful viewers sent to me. I've got a drill bit that I use for these kinds of screws that's already marked with depth. Actually, it looks like they may already be drilled. I wasn't sure if they were drilled or not, but they are drilled. Probably wouldn't hurt if they were drilled slightly bigger though, because I'm afraid I'm going to be forcing them in there a little bit. I'm going to look and see if I've got a better drill here, just a little bit bigger that still would catch the threads. I think this one's just right. It's a little bigger than this, but not that much bigger. And I think it'll do a little bit better job. You know, I don't want to force this in there. You could cause the wood to break. That I feel a lot better about. Now I guess I will put some wax on these screws. I just have some beeswax here, and that's handy, and that's what I'll use. Paraffin, I think, works just as well, if not better. I always try to find a head that fits the screw really well so you don't strip your screws out, because these kinds of screws are generally soft. Looking real good so far. I get that almost tight, but not quite tight. Yeah, as my friend Jeff says, you start them all before you tighten any. Jeff of elderlyiron.com. This Old Truck on YouTube. Again, not quite tight, just down there. It's more than started though. They're in there pretty far, but that's okay. I'm okay with that as long as you don't tighten them down where you can still move things around a little bit. That's some of Jeff's best advice that he gives on his channel, although he gives a lot of real good advice about old engines and trucks and things like that. Just good common sense stuff. Alright, I'm snugging them down now just kind of till where I can feel them stop, and that's where I stop. I don't try to get cute with this, and I don't try to line up all the screw slots to make them perfect, because, you know, forcing it beyond where it needs to stop is not a good idea in my opinion. So I don't care if they're all facing different directions. That's no consequence to me. Actually, this hole might end up being too large for the strap button because I had a hanger screw on this. If it is too large, we'll fill it in with some toothpicks, but it may be okay the way it is. This tailpiece, I love this tailpiece, but I don't like the hole they have in there because none of the tail pins fit it real well. I know they've got it big like that for the wooden tail pins, so you could put a wooden tail pin in here, but when you use these kind, which is what I use, yeah, you got problems. So I'll have to find me some little washers to fill up this extra space, and I'll be back. So you can see I filled up the hole with a little washer there. I had to file the edges off to make it fit this shape hole. Then I should be able to screw this in without it tilting and falling in sideways. I think it'll be just fine this way. Snugged up real good and tight. I'm just fine with that. Okay, we'll move on up to the peg head again. Well, I just slid that one into place and it went right in without any forcing or anything, just as you had seen in a previous video. Hopefully this one will do the same. Yep, perfect. Can't beat that. That's a super precision fit, believe it or not. That's one of your hardest fits right there. And if it doesn't fit that well, then you got a problem. And you do want to fix that if you've got that problem, because it's not good to have it bearing on your keys. That will make your keys wear, and it will also just make it harder to tune. So you're not going to want to have that problem. You want that to go in there nice and easy. Okay, so let me pour out these screws here and we'll get them all installed. And of course, this bag isn't cut, so I have to open it up. And let's see if gravity will work. Yes, it did. It did work that time. I actually poured the screws out. There we have them. And you might laugh and say that gravity always works. Well, you don't know me very well then, because gravity doesn't always work for me. It sort of works most of the time, but there are times when it doesn't work. This is my traditional drill for drilling these because it's already marked with the depth and everything, and it should be fine for those screws because I put in a lot of them with this. And I could center punch this first, and probably won't hurt to do that, so why not? I've got my little awl here, and I will just eyeball the center and try to put a little mark there. That way I don't drill off center. That's really a good tip also. It's nice to get them in the center.
Before my spirit rises high above the white cloud-filled sky, please be there to hear my last words on earth. My last words on earth will be spoken.
Well, we got all those punched. Now I can drill them.
And I'll talk about a good life, how your life enriched mine. Most of all, I want to say you've been good to me. I hope you're there to hear my last words on earth.
I think that got it all done. Let's see if we can get them to go in the hole now. Put a little wax on the screws. That's always a good idea because these screws are kind of hard to drive. These are not the kind of screws you want to put in with a drill. You could probably get away with it to some degree, but you could also just make a real mess. And on a $600 set of tuning keys, I don't think you want to do that. Since these screws match this color, it's going to take quite a while to put all those in there, so I'm not going to make you sit through all that. Well, we're getting close now. Just two more components. We've got a nut and a bridge and saddle to fit. Now the bridge here, to my amazement, fits pretty close, although it's not as airtight as I thought it was now that I look at it. It's got some issues, but nothing horrible. It's mostly the points that need to come down on the ends here. So we'll take those down a little bit. Okay, I went over to the spindle sander, knocked off the high spots that I thought were the most in the way, and now I'm going to just lay this on here, this sandpaper, and I typically do it this way because it's just easier for me to line up from this side for me. And then I'll just basically just do that. Very little motions. You can see I'm not going very far. I put just the least little bit of pressure on the back side, in other words, that side, just so that it doesn't set up beyond vertical. I want it to be vertical but slightly back, you know, because the strings are always pulling forward. You can tell that the length of black is getting longer. We're getting pretty close. You can probably see there that it's come way down and come way down. So just a little bit more of that kind of sanding is all it's going to take. Really don't see any light through there at this point, but I'm going to go ahead and go a little more because I don't see the lines going all the way. You want to make sure you keep your bridge turned in the right orientation every time. That's why I do it with the saddle on here, because I know this is the E side of the saddle. And I make sure I get it right. I may go with that for right now. I don't know, maybe not. It's so close. It's very, very close. I'm going to call that good. The only other thing I typically do, you could just take just some small file, and in my case I'm going to use my half-round file, and I just go along and just kind of knock off the edges and the corners just a little bit now, not very much, just enough that they're not digging in. As you can see, I'm not trying to file off a bunch of wood. I just want to make sure those corners and the edges are not sharp, so that when you slide this, you're not shaving your finish off, or very minor amount where you really, if you look at it, you don't even see it really. That's about how much you want, but you just want to knock the corners off so that it'll slide nice and easy. You should set it on there and it should be fairly stable, not really rocking or anything, and that's sitting there pretty solid. So we're in pretty good shape. I'm going to go ahead and make this nut. I'll probably do most of that off camera, make it out of deer antler. The first thing I want to do, of course, is check my saddle slot here and just see if I'm fairly even, actually. It's right at 200 thousandths there, right at 203 thousandths there, so Yeah, 201 there. So it's just a couple thousandths off from one side to the other. So that's pretty dang close. So we'll shoot for around 200 thousandths. I'll shoot for around 205 to begin with, and we can always shave it down a hair. Well, I was shooting for 205 thousandths. I think I accomplished the goal there. So that worked out pretty good. And does it fit in there? Ah, boy. Like a glove. Well, I'm glad I went to 205 thousandths because that just fits perfect. I mean, like perfect. Okay, there's that word again, but can you find a way to make it fit better than that? It's way tall, of course. Way tall. But that's okay. I don't care about the talls right now. While I've got it in there, I'll take the very fine pencil and I'll mark along here on both sides. And I'll put a T for tail here, meaning that goes toward the back, and I'll put a H for head here that goes towards the peg head. That way I won't get it turned around if I take it out of there. Now what I want to do is try to cut off some of this on the height. So I need to kind of decide how tall I want this. You know, it doesn't take a whole lot to figure this out, so what I think I'll do is just do something very simple like this. Just use this to draw a straight line across here. It's a tongue depressor. You know, if the top of my nut is that high or taller, then we know we got enough. So that's going to be just about right, I think. We don't need it to be much higher than that, but I'll leave just a little bit to always be able to file it down if I need to. So I'm going to go do some cutting and I'll be back. I believe I have this fitting up real well, this nut. And so now I'm just going to pretend like I know what I'm doing. And I'm going to go ahead and mark my string grooves. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And because they don't have any grooves there, I'm going to start with my saw. It's the way I typically do it every time. I haven't glued this in. It's fitting so snug that I'm going to try to do this without gluing it in, but it may not hold up to this. I guess I'll go ahead and go to my files.
Please don't be sad. You're a perfect wife. You were there through the good times and the sad.
I don't think these are going to be all that close to start with, but you got to start somewhere. I think I need to make myself an Antler Saddle for this, and I'll be right back. I hear from different people saying they can't get their saddles to fit for one reason or another. I make my saddles to fit the StewMac bridges. I always have. And so like this is the wooden bridge saddle that's on there. Here's my Antler saddle, and you can see it goes right on there, no problem. So yeah, I know they don't fit every single bridge out there in the world. I wish I could make them do that, but you know, they do fit most. That's the only thing I can tell you. I think I'm going to go with the old Diodario J74s to start with. I may actually bump it up to J75s down the road, but for starters, I think this is a good place to start. There's going to be a lot of stringing and adjusting and all that kind of good stuff, so I don't expect to show all of this, at least not at the beginning here. Here's the first baby note. Starting to get up there. That's about where I'm going to leave it for now until I get the rest of the strings on it. I'll bring you back. I won't play it, I promise. I won't do any more than you just saw me do right there. Well, all strings are on it. They're not even sort of at pitch. I haven't checked intonation, anything like that. But I can also tell that they're way, way, way high. No point in trying to tighten it up or string it up till I get this in the ballpark. And that's what I'm going to do, is get it in the ballpark.
Before I leave you on this earth, you gotta hear my last words. Please be there to hear my last words on earth.
It's real easy to go too far, and I don't want that to happen, because then I got to start over on the nut. This antler, sometimes it files real easy, and other times it clogs up your files real bad, and this one's clogging, wouldn't you know? Yeah, that's getting there. It's still high, I believe, but I'm going to go ahead and work on the rest of them. Get them fairly close, and then I can kind of check them again. Maybe get it up to pitch. That's pretty close. Both of those are about the same, but they're not low enough yet. I'm going to go ahead and keep working on this. I'm not going to play it, I promise you, until I get this kind of set pretty close, and then we'll set the intonation and then play this thing. Well, I have it in the ballpark. I don't think it's as low as it needs to go. In fact, I know it's not. I've really got it close on most of the strings, but these treble strings I think are still quite high. I think I'm going to go ahead and drop them down some more. I thought I had them close enough, but I have not tuned it yet. I've just got some tension on it. That's it.
My last words on earth will be spoke with you in mind, and I'll talk about our good life, how your life enriched mine.
Yeah, we're not too far, that's for sure. We still got quite a ways to go. I think I'm going to just turn the camera back off for a second and work on that some more, because it's still not that close. I'm just going to go ahead and tune it. I'm not actually going to tune it by a tuner or anything. I'm just going to tighten up the strings. Now, all I'm doing that for is just to check the action one more time. See if we're pretty close. I think we're close enough to go ahead and check the tuning on it now. First thing I'll do is kind of see if the intonation's even close. I'll just pick a note. That's a D. Let's see here if oh boy, that's pretty dang close. It's a little flat, if anything. Uh-oh. That might be a problem. My bridge might be sticking to my top because of that finish. I don't know. I'm a little worried about that bridge sticking. I'm wondering if there's anything I could do to keep it from sticking. I'm wondering if wax would help it or make it worse. I'm a little concerned about that, but I don't think I really am too terribly concerned. So let me go ahead and get her tuned up here by the tuner. Starting to get there. Sounds like a fairly decent sound. I'm gonna go through it again. Boy, it's got power, I can tell that. Wow. I'm happy with that part. Check the tuning one more time, because everything stretches when you put on brand new strings, even on a seasoned mandolin, let alone a brand new one. Well, just before we play it, let's look at it with the strings and the tuning keys on there. I'm happy with it. I can tell already, the first punch, boy, it's got the punch. got that deep mellow tone to it. Feel a sharpness on this nut up here, which I should have expected because I didn't take time to clean that up yet. So we got to clean things like that up before we can really play it. And I can tell it's already going out of tune a little bit. Boy, it's got a deep, warm tone. I'm gonna be happy with it, I can tell. It's got the punch. Got the depth under it. That's what's really good. And the finish ain't even dry yet. Wait till that happens. Oh my gosh. I didn't even check the action at the 7th or whatever. It's a little bit high. Nothing we can't adjust. It's easily playable tonight though. I'm just gonna play it like it is. It could be just a fraction lower, but it's like so close that I really wouldn't even notice it if I didn't check it, you know. It's as good as any I've ever made, I'll say it that way. You know, ladies and gentlemen, it may not be the world's finest mandolin ever built by a human. It may not be that. But I can tell you for sure, it's the world's finest mandolin ever built by me. I'm really happy with it. Yeah, it's just right on the money. Gosh, listen to that minor D. Oh my gosh, I don't know that I've had one with more power than this. That much, I'm a little bit surprised on how the power it has. It has some major power. I'm not even hitting it hard. It's got some major power. Oh, seriously telling you, this blows away the one I'm playing right now. And the one I'm playing right now, everybody says is really loud. And this blows it away. I'm not kidding you. It blows it away. And yet it's got a soft, warm tone to the volume. Oh my gosh. You know, you seem like you've probably seen me act like this before, like, wow, every time I build one, it's like that. This one's special, I can tell you for sure. This one is special. I really am happy with this one. And I really had my doubts all the way through it, going, well, I hope this thing lives up to the hype. It more than lives up to the hype. I don't mean to brag on my own stuff, but if you can't hear it, it's just a cheap little microphone on this camera, so, I don't know what you can hear, but I can tell you for sure, in person, it just kicks. I haven't had a mandolin in the shop that kicks like this one for many, 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 many moons, if I ever did. The only one I could say could compare to this one is the one this one was copied after, and that was my uncle's mandolin. I can't wait to play this tonight at the restaurant. It's gonna blow them away. The sound of this thing. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah, this one ain't for sale. 30,000, wouldn't buy it. I'm just telling you right up front, it won't buy it. Oh my gosh. Oh, and it's brand new. It's just been born. Give it 5 minutes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say. I'm so happy with it. I've never been this excited about an instrument since I've been building. I mean, I've always enjoyed them all, and I've liked every one of them that I've built so far. But this one just says, forget the rest of them. Getting a little bit out of tune again, but that should be expected, especially when they're brand new. Wow, it just stays right in the middle. Take a look at the tuner. It's amazing. Maybe you can see it and maybe not, and maybe it won't work laying down like this, but let's just try it and see. I'm a little flat. Let's try to hit both strings and see if it stays there. Look at that. No, that just tells you there's no overtones or weird things going on. Wow. Wow. I am so happy with that, I can't even tell you. The sustain is just awesome. It's just really good. I'm telling you, I've been doing this a long time, and this one's a great one to go out on. I'm telling you, it's a great one to go out on. I couldn't be happier with this, other than the looks. And I know in general it looks wonderful from the distance, and you know, from everything just out like this it looks beautiful. When you get really close to it, there's problems with the binding. It's not perfect. It's not perfectly in there. You can see little creases along the binding there, and maybe some of that can be fixed with another coat of varnish that I'll probably put on this in another month or so. I'm going to give it a little time to just set up and do its thing, and then I'll probably sand it down and put another good coat of varnish on it, because it's not overly coated at the moment, and it wouldn't hurt it to have another coat on there. Before I let you get away, after seeing all the work done on this mandolin and everything, I got one more cool aspect here. This Carlton case, which is really considered to be one of the best cases in the business. I've got to see if my mandolin will fit in there. I'm fairly sure it will. I think I fit it in here already, but only before it was finished. So I'll turn it down there where you can really get a good look at it. Oh my goodness. This thing really cradles it in there. It can't move. I mean, like it's in there. It cannot move. Oh, I'm tickled with that. I hope you've enjoyed watching this thing be built. I'm sure we'll be making a lot of videos in the very near future featuring the mandolin. So right now, that's about all I'm going to give you. I'll just take you out on one little tune here. I don't even know what I'm going to play. Let's try Kentucky Waltz. Even though it's brand new and a little bit hard to keep in tune right now, I can tell it's a winner. Thank you so much for following along on the journey of building the world's finest mandolin ever built by a human. Even though it really isn't, I know that, but I do know it's one fine instrument, and I'm really, really, really proud of it. It's a great one to go out on, as I said. Thank you so much for watching.